I want to talk to you today about overnight oatmeal. I know a lot of people make overnight oatmeal. I particularly like mine the best. It's delicious, creamy, easy to make, good for you. Yum. I'll put that away to enjoy later. But I will say that the first ingredient to being efficient about making overnight oatmeal is jars. So here's a small sampling of the jars that we have to use today. Some of the particular jars that I have here: Indian curry, red pepper, eggplant, and garlic. And perhaps one of my absolute favorite jars is made from rondinola. My most common jar would be a salsa jar because we do eat a lot of salsa, and Teddy peanut butter jars. And with washing, eventually the labels come off, but I think they add character to my overnight oatmeal, so I don't force it. Of course, every jar is rinsed and washed and put through the dishwasher, and you'd never know salsa was here or peanut butter wasn't here. You can tell that I really like jars. And you're in luck, because my next video, we'll talk about the different uses that I make of jars around the house. Stay tuned. But let's stay focused on overnight oatmeal for now. I'll show you the ingredients that I use one by one. The first ingredient, of course, is oatmeal. I use old-fashioned oats. They're the ones, if you look at the directions, they take 5 minutes to make on the stovetop. Don't get the instant ones that take only 1 minute, because you don't get as much texture in your overnight oatmeal with those. Another ingredient is chia seeds. This is Bob's Mills brand chia seeds. I put them in these pretty containers because I like them. Another ingredient that I like that adds sweetness is raisins. And I happen to love coconut, so I always put coconut in my overnight oatmeal. This is shredded, unsweetened coconut, so it adds a nice texture, some richness from the fat in the coconut, and a little bit of natural sweetness. I love nuts. I use walnuts in my overnight oatmeal, although sometimes I'll use pecans as well. Any kind of nut will do. Those are my very basics. And I'll show you these spices that go in. Salt, very important, even though it's a little counterintuitive to put salt in a sweet breakfast. A little salt helps bring out the flavor. And of course, I use ground cinnamon, one of my favorites, and good for you too. And you can see here that I have the travel size of nutmeg. Why do I have a 1 pound box of nutmeg? I don't know, but I made a good dent in it. Other ingredients that some folks like to put in their overnight oatmeal include vanilla extract and maple syrup. I don't add these for 2 reasons. I feel like they both add a little bit of sweetness, which I don't want, and they add a wetness to these dry products. And when I finish filling up my jars with the fixins for overnight oatmeal, they'll be shelf stable for quite a while. Adding the liquid, I feel, makes that shelf stability a little precarious. I'll show you how I fill up all of the jars of oatmeal now. I'll start with 4 jars. just so you can get a sense of how I fill them and how I create a sort of assembly line to make it efficient. I'll start with my oats. I use 1/3 cup of old-fashioned oats. 1/3 cup goes in each jar. I have limited space here right now that you can see me work in. Generally, though, I would fill up all of my jars at once, all 20 or 25 jars. Once I have the oatmeal in there, I can start to add all the fixings. I'm mostly going to be using a 1 tablespoon measure, and I'll start with the chia seeds. I'm putting a tablespoon of chia in each jar. Then I'll go to the coconut. So I'm going to fill up my tablespoon, but I'll probably put half, just like 1.5 teaspoons in each one, because it is a little heavy and a little rich. Same thing with the walnuts, about a tablespoon. It's delicious. Now the raisins. Did I forget anything? I think so. A tablespoon of raisins is good. When raisins get so sticky, I like to use the scoop for sure because they do get really sticky. Oops. Okay. So now for the spices. I put the salt in first because, as I said, I tend to put salt. So I'm going to put a tiny pinch in each one. Not a lot, just enough to bring out the flavor. When it comes to the nutmeg, I put a little more. Oh, I love the smell of nutmeg. Goodness. I guess I don't have an exact measurement. Like 1/8 teaspoon in each one, which is actually a lot. Nutmeg is very potent. If you don't like nutmeg, you can certainly leave it out. And then the cinnamon. I put quite a bit of cinnamon. It adds a sweet flavor to it and a little bit of spiciness. Zing. A teaspoon in each one. Like I said, this is imprecise. You can change it. Other delicious possibilities are ground ginger and cardamom, ground cloves, chocolate chips, granola, anything you like. That's all of the dry ingredients. So then I find my jars, my jar lids, and I close them all up. And sometimes jar lids can feel intimidating because there's so many different kinds. I have an entire bag of jar lids. They all belong to one of these jars. But you'd be surprised, there's only probably 3 general sizes of jars and jar lids. It's not that hard to figure it out. So these then can get stored in your cabinet. If you use new jars that don't have labels, this can actually look very attractive, stored away. And for me, I'm the only one who eats it in the house. So this is going to end up being, when I'm done, 25 servings, so a good month worth of overnight oatmeal. But when I'm about to put it in, I'm about to make the oatmeal. So for example, if I want to eat this tomorrow morning, tonight I'm going to put in the liquid. Let me get some possibles to show you. This is a big decision. So I like to put a non-dairy, non-animal product in here, so this is completely vegan breakfast. That said, we often use the almond milk, and this almond milk is unsweetened, but it's vanilla flavored, and it's got 40 calories in a cup. This one is oat milk, which is very creamy, and it's got 160 calories in a cup. So this is 4 times more fat, carbs, deliciousness, basically. So I was using the almond milk because I guess I thought I was supposed to. And then I realized that almond milk tastes a little bit like wet cardboard. So I don't use that anymore. I've been using Oatly oat milk. It seems like if I'm going to bother eating it, it should taste delicious. Shake up your oat milk or your almond milk or your cow milk or whatever you like to put in. You could even put water, very easily put water. You might want to add a little sweetness to it as well if you do that, because oat milk or almond milk will add a little sweet taste. I'm going to fill it up just a little bit above the line of where all the ingredients are. And this is the beauty of jars, because there are a lot of ways to store things, but there's nothing like a tightly lidded jar for shaking up. Look at that. So all of my cinnamon and all of my chia seeds are getting a really good mix, and it's ready to go in the fridge. I might do 1 or 2 of these for today and tomorrow, and the rest will stay shelf stable in my cabinet. When I've filled all of my jars, I'll show you what that looks like too. Well, there you have it. I filled 21 jars with overnight oatmeal, and they're ready to go. There are 2 in the fridge with oat milk in them already. It's very satisfying. I made a little bit of a mess, so I'm going to clean that up now. There you have it. That's my version of overnight oatmeal with efficiency and ease. I now have 21 jars ready to be filled with a little bit of oat milk, placed in the refrigerator, shaken up, and enjoyed. If anyone is thinking, I don't know how cold oatmeal sounds, one thing to think about is the consistency is a little bit like rice pudding or tapioca pudding. And the raisins really add to that experience. I find it very delicious and sweet. I don't put any sweetener other than the tiny sweetness you get from the unsweetened coconut, raisin, and the cinnamon. If you're someone who really just wants their oats hot, you can still do overnight oatmeal. Take it out of the fridge, shake it up, pour it in a little saucepan and heat it on low. Pour it in a microwave safe bowl, nuke it for a minute, and you'll have hot overnight oatmeal. Either way, it's a versatile dish, something you can always have on hand. It's delicious and good for you.